Oh, wow. That's really good. Can I pitch you what I think
Yeah,
companies
of
should do?
course.
Okay. So, yeah. So I kind of, I watch, I observe, and I investigate different business models. And I think that in the past, the agency industry, well, the industry of advertising agencies, there was more of a barrier to entry. There was a lot of technical things involved, which you could only learn by being inside an agency and kind of working for years. Now it seems like those barriers have come down with digital and people can kind of learn things on their own. So the barriers to entry have gone up. And what I think with not just advertising agencies, but any mature industry or mature company is that companies themselves seem like they are natural evolution of nature, basically. You know,
Okay.
things that are alive in an ecosystem, they compete against each other for resources. The best ones move on, the ones who are not adapted become extinct, basically. And anything that's alive should have kids when it's mature. And now you see Liquid Death, which was started by an ad guy.
Yeah.
It's a pure branding play. That's
Yep.
all. It's water,
Yep.
but it's huge because of the branding. Advertising agencies now, there's never been a better time than now to create a brand because because distribution is just out there with social media.
Yeah.
So we have all these advertising agencies. The competition is so high. They specialize in branding. They should create their own brands, I think. And now you have an
Yeah.
asset, you have brands.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. I think it's been like who we would define it as like there's been two things. We say it is low cost of production. So not only like you can produce a TV show with ridiculously low levels of low cost of production, but you can also produce a product with ridiculously low levels of product, low cost of production. So you got low cost of production, and then you have instantaneous and global distribution
Right.
through the internet. And so you don't
Social
need to be
media.
a TV network, and like you can just create your own show and
Yeah.
distribute it globally across the world. And because of drop shipping and other stuff, you can do the same thing with products like fulfillment. So I don't disagree with you. The only part is that then it becomes a side hustle, right? Like it becomes a side hustle. And there's nothing in an agency's business model that is optimized to do that. You don't have roles to do that. You can do the marketing for it, but in terms of like who owns the like who's talking to the factory and who like all that kind of stuff, you don't have those roles in an agency. Then you got to hire those people because you got this one SKU. Opposed to we're going to own 10% of something, we're going to do the branding, but we're going to kick it over to somebody else who's going to do it. Because or we're going to stop being an agency and we're just going to do this thing. It gets really, really difficult. Now, you can combine the two thoughts. The two of us can be right. Where it's like, well, what if an agency then created a brand around a piece of content? And that's what we tried to do with the Coup, which was if we create this thing called the Coup and we did it within partnership with Rogers Frequency, can we now have something that is its own thing that we brand it in its own unique way, but it serves our greater interests as an agency, that we can optimize it and we can use it to sell what we know, help sell what we also sell. So
Branded
now we've got a
content.
portfolio strategy and it's branded content. They did the exact same thing with the book. We published Think, Do, Say. And again, it's because that will help us. What people don't realize, we published a book before Think, Do, Say. We published a book with my friends, Pat Kelly and Chris Kelly and Peter Oldring, who created a show on CBC Radio called This Is That. And we created This Is That Travel Guide to Canada. We were the publisher of this comedy book. And we went through it because I wanted to see if I could publish a book and make it work. And it worked. At one point, it was the highest selling humor book in the country for like 14 weeks in a row. It won an International Independent Book Publishing Award. It was amazing. It did great. But we got nothing out of it. Absolutely nothing other than going through this exercise. It was a complete one-off. So I said, okay, we're never going to do that again because you can't, it's not like we're making millions off this book. And we're just not built to be a publisher on an ongoing basis unless The book helps us in the other things that we do. So when I wrote Think Do Say and we published Think Do Say became our complete operating system in the agency. We didn't need to make money on the book because it helped us in other ways.
Right, because of the framework of thinking that it provided.
Exactly.
Right, right. That's pretty good.
And we go into a new business pitch. Like we had a big pitch, and the CEO said, "I read your book. I loved your book." That changes the dynamic of the room.
That's a competitive advantage. If they know about you before you step in the room like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if they said, "I read this is that travel guide to Canada, it's really funny," it would not help us one bit.
No.
In the pitch.
Yeah.
And I think Rethink tried to do this. Rethink had
They had a beer brand when they first
it was a beer
out.
brand. It was out of their Vancouver office. They had a beer brand to probably 10 years ago.
Yeah, that was actually now beer brands are all over the place. These microbrews are popping up all over the place.
Yeah.
So, do they still have it? I don't even know.
I don't think so, but they're smart guys. They're smart folks. They're it wouldn't surprise me if they started going down that road again, but they
got a lot on their plate right now.
Okay, they're killing it right now. Yeah,
yeah, they're a lot on their plate. I see these influencers, like Prime Energy, Mr. Beast has some chocolate bars and burgers, and I'm thinking, God damn, advertisers should be doing this. If these influencers, a lot of them aren't the smartest people who are killing it by creating products and brands. I'm just thinking someone's got to step up and do this in the advertising world, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well,
I could be wrong. I don't.
Yeah, but what they're doing really well is, and closer to home, David Rocco is doing this, right? On a different.
I'm not familiar with David Rocco.
It's a David Rocco. He produces a show called Dolce Italia. So he's had cooking shows for, I think, 15, 20 years. Okay. Dolce Italia, Dolce India, big chef. And he's done really, really well. And in the food space, not even a trained chef. He's just Italian. And
that's all you need sometimes.
That's all you need. But he's great on camera. Like he's a great guy. He's a really, really great guy. And so he decides, like, I've built up this TV show of this trust and expertise in Italian cooking. I don't have my own sauces. Like what? Like that's great. Like it's ridiculous. I don't have my own sauces. So he now has a restaurant in Yorkville. He has his own line of pastas and sauces. And he's not doing it. He went TV first. But he built the David Rocco brand. And so everything else is just a product extension of that
flywheel around David Rocco. Yeah.
Mr. Beast built the brand already. It wasn't the burger. It was Mr. Beast, the content piece.
No, but Liquid Death, though. Liquid Death came out of nowhere. It was pure branding. So
yes,
I think
Liquid Death is a great example of that. But when you talk about influencers, they are building a personal brand, a content brand. And then once they get that to a certain level, then they go, all right, we're just going to do some product extensions here. This is the Mr. Beast brand as a burger. This is the Mr. Beast brand as a drink.
So it's a little bit different, but I don't know.
But you're right in that if you're church and state, we could conceivably create a product that if we have this thing called the CX-EX gap. What's the gap between where your customer experience wants to be and where your employee experience is? If we developed a tool and around that specific IP and sold that tool as a piece of software, well, that's where it's a brand extension of what we fundamentally believe into app product form.
Yeah, that's something you could, and that would be a durable asset. It's something that you could keep or spin off as something else. But now you're in the asset business instead of the service business, which I think is a more stable and robust type of business. I'm just trying to figure out how to get advertising into the asset business as opposed to the service business. But it's a tough business problem, I think.
Well, the problem is it could be IP, and we would say that our IP is really unique in the space of using Think Do Say, and it gets way
that's
more
an
granular.
IP. Yeah, that's durable. That's going to be around for 100 years, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Whereas agencies will sometimes go, it's Love Marks trademark. Who was that?
What?
Tite? No, BBDO or somebody had Love Marks. I don't. Maybe it was. I don't know.
I missed that.
But
yeah.
But it's like they go the branded kind of thing first, opposed to being like a really specific IP. It's more of an interesting brand.